Welcome to my channel. You are watching Casual Gardening and Cooking. Today on the agenda I've got leeks. I want to show you how to sow them correctly, and in later videos how to look after your seedlings and a fully fledged plant. But everything is in stages. So today we're going to be covering sowing stage, how to start your leeks. Now the variety I do have, you can actually plant them straight away outside at a later date. So for indoors, it's best to sow them between Feb and March, whereas if you want to have them outside, from March to April, depending on the weather, obviously. But for me, the safer bet is to start them early, as leeks tend to take a while to actually grow to a full-fledged vegetable. And I do have a variety that should be ready in autumn, and that's sowing them in Feb. So let's get started. First of all, what we need to do is to prepare something that we're gonna, well, put the seeds in, i.e. some sort of a container. Now it could be packaging after ice cream, after yogurt, anything you've got. However, you need to think about how to drain the water from them, so you do need some sort of a tray underneath it, and you need to make sure to make holes in those containers. Now me, I took it to the next level and invested in some trays. In my last episode, I've actually showed you how to start your celeries going. So if you've missed that video, I'm going to have a link down below. Now, as you can see, I do have some space. I've got 3 rows, and I left them specially for the leeks. So I do have my container. The next thing we need is a seed starting mix. So how do I go about it? Well, each year I actually do buy a fresh batch of seed soil, okay? It doesn't need to have any nutritions in it, any added nutritions. Actually, it shouldn't have any, okay? For germination, for seedlings, they don't require any extra supplements, so the basic will do. However, the soil itself, it needs to be light. It cannot be a heavy one. It needs to allow the moisture and the water to pass through easily. So it is an important step of picking the right soil for it. I would definitely not recommend using soil that's already been used, or even from your garden. That may introduce some diseases or parasites, and you definitely don't want to have that. So unfortunately, it's a bit of an expense, but I do recommend to buy a fresh batch every single year. On top of that, what I use is something called perlite. There's also something called vermiculite, okay? They're fairly similar, although a little bit different. Basically, the perlite I'm using, it's a stone, but it's light as a feather. It will hold moisture when mixed with soil, and that's exactly what we need for germination and growing our seedlings. So first of all, well, we need the soil. And what I always do, I look for the larger pieces that's still in them, and I'm going to separate those. I'm going to take them out, as we definitely don't want them in our mix. If you do have larger pieces like that, just make sure to break them down. It will be a lot easier to put the mix later on in our trays. And now it's time for perlite. And just mix it well with the soil. The soil itself should be quite light, okay? And it should allow the moisture and the water to pass through. And that's very important, because otherwise you may get into issues where some diseases, some fungi will grow into the pot themselves. And obviously this is something that we want to avoid. The perlite itself will hold enough moisture for the seeds to actually sprout and later on to create the seedlings. So definitely we don't want to have standing water in the mix or in the trays themselves with the seeds. And more or less that's what we want, okay? The ratio of perlite to the soil is visible like this. Okay, with the mix now ready, I'm gonna put the tray in, and we can fill it up with our mix. Now I'm just going to push the soil down a little bit in those containers. Now, to make sure that I'm not going to get confused which plant is which, or as I said, I already got some celeries in here, I've created some name tags so I know exactly where is what. You can also put a date on them so you know where you started your sowing, and that will allow you to establish more or less the date when they should germinate. And when they get a lot past that date, then you know there's nothing going to happen. So I'm just making sure I know what I've got in what place. Now the seeds of celeries are, well, they're not too big, they're not too small, somewhere in the middle range. I'm still going to be putting at least 3 or 4 in each cell just to make sure I will have some germination. And later on, if for example, they will all come out, I will just pick and choose the ones that look the strongest, okay, and remove the rest. Now I still got plenty of those seeds left, and looking at the use by date, I've still got at least 2 more seasons for them. So just put the rest of the seeds back in the package and then keep it in a nice, cool and dark place for next years to come. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a bit of soil, about 5 millimeters. So that's going to be the end depth where it comes to our seeds. However, what I also like to do is to add a tiny layer of perlite on top. It weighs absolutely nothing, so it's not going to cause any issues to the seedlings. However, it will make sure that I've got good amount of moisture for the seeds to actually germinate. And the next very important step is to make sure they've got some water. Now in my case, what I do is I use a sprayer like this. It's a pressure sprayer and it just releases a mist on top of it, okay? That makes sure I'm fully aware of how much moisture I've added and how much moisture there should be there, as you definitely don't want to have too much water in this case. Later on, when they germinate, we're going to move on to a different method of supplying them water, but I will cover that in future videos. This method just makes sure that the seeds will not move and they will stay in place. And now I can move them onto the tray. Now the leeks will require between 10 to 20 days to germinate, and the temperature should be between 18 and 23 degrees Celsius. And later on, when they do germinate, they will require a bit of sunshine. So having a window like I do, which is quite large, is a perfect space for them. However, the problem is that despite the fact I do have a large window, they will still need some help when it comes to the amount of sunshine, as it's early doors still for them. But I will be covering all the steps that you need to do when they do germinate and how to look after them. That's all coming in a future video. So make sure to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss that crucial part of having and growing and looking after your seedlings. If you enjoyed today's video, well, drop me that like button down below as well. And tell you what, if you really liked it, share this video with your friends and family. That will mean a lot to me and it will help to grow my channel. Now for today, that's all, and I'm hoping to see you on my next video. Maybe how to look after the leeks when they actually germinate. Take care.